Hey, what's up guys? It's Jeff with Hope Again. Today I'm starting a brand new series called Guardrails. I'm really excited about it. Now everyone knows what a guardrail is, but you probably never thought about what the official definition of a guardrail is. So let's go take a look at one and I'll talk about it a little bit. According to the Federal Highway Administration, because we want to be official here, the definition of a guardrail is a system of protection that's put in place to keep vehicles from straying off into off-limits areas or dangerous areas. The key word here is system. Guardrails are everywhere, but for the most part, they're an invisible part of our driving experience. I mean, we're glad that they're there, but we don't really pay much mind to them or give them much thought. But you know, we don't argue their purpose. I've never heard anyone say, man, why do they put these guardrails here? I wish they'd take them away so I could drive a little bit closer to the edge of this bridge. No, we need these guardrails. The truth is, if you ever hit one, I guarantee you were glad it was there, because what was waiting on the other side was much, much worse. Now in this series, we're not going to just be talking about guardrails and driving across bridges and stuff. It's just an idea. Guardrails are there to protect us from harm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take principles from the Bible and then look at how to build a guardrail system of sorts for our everyday lives to protect us from causing major damage to ourselves or worse, to other people. Listen, the truth is your greatest regrets in this life, in relationships, maybe things financially or morally, ethically, professionally, could have in many cases been avoided if you or the person who hurt you had established some guardrails in their life. So when I'm talking about guardrails, I'm talking about establishing what I'm going to call a personal standard of behavior that becomes a matter of conscience. And to have that, you have to have personal foundational beliefs. Beliefs that are for you, okay? Not just for you to force down other people's throats or force upon other people. No, this is personal, man. I mean, it's for you, and it's for me. Guardrails have a very simple yet very important purpose. They direct and they protect. They direct and they protect. Now think about it. If you were to hit a guardrail, and I hope that never happens, but what happens then? I'd say it startles you, it would wake you up, it would jolt you, it would shock you, and as a result, if you had the opportunity, you would make immediate corrections in order to keep from going off the side of that cliff or banging into that tree. See, I believe that's what's missing in today's culture, is a sense of personal conscience, that if there's something that within you that's saying danger, danger ahead, red flags are going off, I'm bumping up against something that if I continue to ignore it, it may lead to some trouble. Now I'm talking about the kind of trouble that you regret for the rest of your life. It seems that walking the straight and narrow it seems to me, it was once more admired and respected, but what I've seen happen in just my lifetime is a direct and deliberate departure from the straight and narrow way of living to more of kind of a wide open way of thinking, where anything goes. It seems to me that the lines between right and wrong have kind of grayed or become blurred. In fact, many people get really offended if you even mention, lines and what truth is, and they get angry about it. I hear things like, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to live my truth. Well, let me be honest with you, my friend. My truth, Jeff's truth, it's gotten me into trouble on many occasions, because I had convinced myself at certain times in my life that what I was doing was okay, or my behavior was justified somehow, or my way of thinking was just right. But really I deceived myself. And guess what? I bet you've done the same thing too. I mean, have you ever thought that you were completely right about a situation and then later found out that you were wrong? Of course you have. We all have. But think about this. What if, while you were so convinced that you were right, the things that you said or did during that time may have really hurt some people? We need some guardrails. We need to know what real truth is. So when it comes to truth, here's the truth. Jesus, God's Son, said it boldly and clearly. He said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. But I probably don't have to tell you that that particular truth can make our general culture mad. In fact, the thought of there being absolute truths anymore these days drives people who don't believe crazy. And it's interesting to me because our culture agrees that certain things are in fact considered dangerous. But sometimes the way our culture communicates those things, those warnings, can be very weak. To me, they're just a lot of watered down, kind of feel-good statements floating around that really don't seem to make a difference at all. Here's just an example. I hear this one in advertising all the time, and it kind of makes me crack up a little bit. You hear this, drink responsibly. Well, I mean, that's not a bad sentiment, but it's not a guardrail. Now, I'm not doing a message on drinking today. We are going to have to talk about it a little bit during the Guardrails series, but you might be surprised at my take on it. The idea of saying, hey, drink responsibly is kind of like painting a yellow line on the edge of a bridge that's 400 feet in the air, but it's not a guardrail. So you have to determine where that particular guardrail should be placed in your life. It may be different for me than it is for you, and that's okay. But let's just agree that there are some serious dangers associated with this topic, and a guardrail is very much needed in this area. Or other watered down sayings that I hear all the time are, you just follow your heart. Or how about this when we say to people, practice safe sex. Or, it's your body, man. You do whatever you want with it. The problem, my counter argument to that is you can't always follow your heart because it's not always right, and it can be easily manipulated. And the only safe sex, by the way, is with one partner under the spiritual covering of marriage. And we're going to talk about that directly in this series too. And my body, in fact, was created and given to me as a gift. And it's my responsibility to take good care of it, not to harm it, or to use it to harm anyone else. These are all just kind of feel-good statements, man, but they're not guardrails. You see, we've kind of lulled ourselves to sleep or in cruise control mode with these weak, non-abrasive, non-offensive, politically correct phrases, and we've actually, in doing so, removed some pretty important guardrails. I mean, it's gotten so bad that we've removed the guardrail around marriage and completely redefined marriage. There's no longer any clear truth defining something that's so scientifically obvious as gender. I mean, I know that will offend some people, but I don't care. And the truth is, we're having an identity crisis in the church and as believers because we're losing our way a little bit, straying off the course. Not all of you, but I know I have before. We've become more inclusive in our culture, and that's good, but at the same time, we've become more excluding, where we're excluding God from the way that we live our lives, making choices, and I'm afraid that in doing so, we can be heading to a very dangerous area. See, our culture doesn't appreciate the idea of guardrails. The fact our culture thinks that, spiritual type guardrails can be kind of stupid or corny. They even make fun of people who still live their lives with guardrails. And they might call them, names like old-fashioned or closed-minded or out of touch, religious, or even legalistic. Now, some of that may be true because you can take anything too far and become a religious jerk, in my opinion. And that's why it's important that you don't force your guardrails on everyone else. Just live out your life and show off the results of the guardrails that you choose to put in your life. But I got to tell you, there's nothing wrong with living straight and narrow versus loose and loud. Look at this verse in Ephesians 5:15, just real quick. Paul said, be careful, be very careful then how you live. Another translation says, look carefully how you walk. You ever been over to somebody's house before and they've got like 2 or 3 dogs maybe in the backyard? You're outside, you're grilling, and you just decide to go out to the yard, maybe toss the frisbee around with a friend or something, and just as you're about to walk on the grass, you hear that person say, hey, sorry, we didn't have time to clean up after the dogs. Watch where you step. That's what Paul to me is saying here. Hey, you're living in a pretty dirty yard with a lot of stinky messes scattered all over the place. Be careful how you walk through relationships, how you walk through business dealings and choices and friendships, temptations, how you walk through dealing with money, whatever it might be. Be careful how you walk so that you don't step in a big pile of poo. There are too many people in this life that have done so, including me, that are living with regret. But as I think about it, almost every regret was because I'd gotten off the path. And you know what that means? It means that a lot of it, again, not all of it, but a lot of it in my life could have in fact been avoided. So sign me up for that. I mean, I don't like going off a cliff and running into a rock wall. What this means, get this, I actually have the power to set the dial on my future pain meter. There's already enough things in this life that are tough. If I can set up a guardrail or two to help me avoid the stupid things that I know good and well are just going to hurt me and cause pain to me and other people, I'm going to do it. And I think you should too. Listen, as you read the Bible, you'll see a pattern emerge. Whether it's talking about lust or alcohol, greed, anger, food, material possessions, it's not about the rules, the do's and the don'ts, it's about protection. See, anything in our lives that leads us to a loss of control, that's where we cross over into the realm of sin. So you have to determine where those things are in your life. Losing control with your anger, losing control with sexual desires, losing control over food. How about control over the things that you drink or the medication or how much of it you take? Losing control over your finances. The list could go on and on. But listen to me, each one of these has the power to take you out if you let it get out of control. Thus the need for guardrails. You know, there are things out there that want to destroy you, to ruin you. And you know what I've learned? No one ever plans on ruining their life. No one says, man, I cannot wait to get married and have some kids and get divorced. No one says, man, I can't wait to move out on my own and get good and addicted to alcohol and shoot myself up with meth and lose it all. No one says, I want to grow up and spend the rest of my life in jail. No, we don't plan on failing, but as the old saying goes, all too often we fail to plan. Successfully navigating the minefield of poop in this life requires personal guardrails. In fact, I think it demands it. Markers that you predetermine in your heart need not be crossed because you know where it leads, what's on the other side. You and I need more than bumper stickers, man. Cute talks and catchy cliches and politically correct statements. We need real solid truth. Truth that anchors you. I plan on having some real talks about real stuff in this Guardrails series because this message is just as much for me as it is for you. As I've told you, I've messed up probably more than most of you. I've lived on that cruise control mode with no guardrails a few times in my life, even in ministry, and nearly lost everything. And the pain that I had to endure was almost unbearable. Again, if you haven't seen those 4 videos where I tell my story, go back and watch them. Because that's why you'll see that this subject on guardrails is so very important to me. Because I want you to avoid the pain. But to do so, you got to make the choice to protect your path. As I've been talking, I'm guessing that you might have thought of something specific in your life. Maybe an area where you're dancing a little close to the edge of that yellow line, and you know you need to back up about 3 feet and set a guardrail that keeps you out of trouble. Here's a fact that I know to be 100% true. In all my years of doing this, teaching and ministering, I've never found anyone who's ever regretted establishing a guardrail. But I can tell you about thousands who wish they would have. And if that's you, if you're right in the middle of a devastating dark time in your life, and you're watching this, first of all, I'm proud of you. I can honestly say, I feel your pain. I've been there. I've been stuck there for years, just here until recently. But I promise you this, there is hope. There is hope for your specific situation. And my friend, that hope is preceded by grace. It comes first. And if you'll just give God a chance, if you'll just turn to Him and say, yes, accept His Son Jesus, I can visually see Him dumping out what I call a bucket of grace on you, because I've experienced it. and I want you to experience it as well. And as that grace gets poured upon you and it makes its way down through your thoughts, through your emotions, your feelings, invades your current reality, it will eventually make its way to your heart. And guess what? When that happens, hope will awaken. Your hope will begin to rise and you will be restored. You just have to dare to hope again. If you want to know more about how to accept Jesus and how to get a hold of some of this hope, message me. Leave me a comment. That goes for all of you. I'd love to hear from you. I hope that you're enjoying these talks. I know I'm having fun doing it. And if you are, let me know. Pass it on to a friend or two. But as always, I promise I'll be here again every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Have a great week, and remember, there's always